There are people who have said that even though they promised to abolish E-LEVY, given the financial constraints the country faces now and so on, or if he keeps it for some time, it's okay. No, he has to keep that promise. He definitely has to keep the promise. I'm aware of some people who have said that, the promises made in the elections can be set aside.
Yes.
Master, we have come to the stage where we have to take election promises and pledges seriously.
Hello fam, welcome back to our channel. Okay, so in today's story, Kwesi Pratt was asked on his view on or assessment on John Dramani Mahaman's performance so far, and this was what he had to say. Let's go.
Well, first of all, I don't want to be confused.
Okay.
Because I understand that there's a newspaper review program, and therefore the stories we look at and so on ought to come from the newspapers. So I don't want to be confused on that score.
Right.
Having said that, a number of the things that we have said have been reported on in the newspapers.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm clear in my head that no one can judge the performance of a government or a president on the basis of what has happened in a few days, perhaps less than a week. So I'm not going to pass any judgment on the president and his government based on what has happened within 1 week. This government has a 4-year term, and we can come to conclusions about what it is doing at the end of its 4-year term. It doesn't prevent us, however, from making observations about some very specific actions that the government has taken or not taken now. That's not a judgment over the performance of the government over its 4-year term, but specific policies and so on. I'm aware of some people who have said that, the promises made in the elections can be set aside.
Yes.
He has to keep that promise. He definitely has to keep the promise. And there are people who have said that even though they promised to abolish E-LEVY, given the financial constraints the country faces now and so on, if he keeps it for some time, it's okay. No. Master, we have come to the stage where we have to take election promises and pledges seriously. If you promise to appoint not more than 60 ministers, we expect that you would appoint not more than 60 ministers. Even an addition of one ought to be resisted. It has to be 60 or 59 or even 40. We'll be fine with that. But to exceed the 60 limit is a dangerous sign. You understand? Now, you cannot promise that you would remove the E-LEVY in an election campaign, win the elections, and then 2 weeks after assuming office say that, you made a mistake. Let it stay. It won't stay. There will be resistance. So politicians ought to learn that when they mount platforms and make promises, the people take the promises seriously.
And so you expect
to be kept. Apart from this, there's also some very pedestrian analysis. Very, very pedestrian analysis. Those who are saying, for example, that the president should not keep the pledge to remove the E-LEVY are saying that, look, the country has problems with mobilizing revenue, and therefore, if you remove the E-LEVY, there'll be a hole, as it were, in the national pocket. I completely disagree. I understood the promise to remove E-LEVY as a promise to review the entire system of taxation.
True.
To make it rational, to rationalize the system of taxation. Okay. One of the major arguments that was made against the E-LEVY was that it affected vulnerable people in a very dramatic way, and so on. So, I would think that if you're going to do rationalization of the tax policy and tax regime and so on, you can remove E-LEVY and look at other areas where you may enhance taxes or impose taxes which would not have that detrimental effect on ordinary poor people.
Right.
That would fit into the regime, of tax rationalization. yesterday I was making the point, for example, that those who have guns, guns in this country, pay only 12 cedis as gun licensing fees. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's more than that now. It is.
No, it's 12 cedis.
It's 150.
12 cedis, my brother. Renewal of gun licensing.
That's ridiculous.
It's 12 cedis. Check.
That's ridiculous. I have evidence. It's 150.
No, I have evidence. It is 12 cedis. I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, did you use a gun? Yeah, yes. I did.
What was the last time you paid?
150. Just last week.
It's 150.
No.
Just last week.
No, my brother.
It is pump action that is 12 cedis.
12 cedis.
Master, sidearm, pistol. It's 12 cedis. I know, as a fact. Renewal of gun licenses is 12 cedis. Now, even if you say that pump action guns are 12 cedis, is that reasonable? And look at the caliber of people who are licensed to hold weapons.
Okay, so if you are wondering, where did Mahama promise to scrap off E-LEVY and betting tax and all? He has said it in so many platforms during his campaign, and this video you are about to watch is just one of those platforms that he reaffirmed his promise to scrap this off as soon as he got into office.
The collection of the E-LEVY began yesterday, and like a slap in the face, it began on May Day, when we are supposed to be celebrating workers. We are celebrating a new tax imposed on them. And already there's a litany of complaints about the implementation. I've heard complaints of transfers of under 100 cedis being subject to tax contrary to the law. And I've heard others say that they sent 1,000 cedis and paid no additional tax. Clearly, the Ghana Revenue Authority and those responsible for this tax were not ready for its implementation. Government's desperation to tax Ghanaians to get this nation out of the hellhole it has dumped us will not succeed, because government's own budget proposals show that the E-LEVY will not make any significant contribution in resolving our problems, but will exert an adverse toll on the people of Ghana. We in the NDC do not oppose taxation as a principle. We will not be pretentious and couch fanciful slogans to condemn the principle of taxation like the NPP did in the past. We are, however, implacably opposed to distortionary and burdensome taxes like the E-LEVY that only force Ghanaians to